Hi guys, remember when we looked at those fantastic kobolds from Warploque Miniatures? Well, in this video we're going to be looking at some more.
Scruffy Crow.
Okay, so this is the second month. These are going to be February's release. And these ones are fresh off the printer right now in a slightly different resin to what I normally use. But it was an out-of-date bottle that I needed to use up, so they are currently pink. This is only the first batch of things. There's actually another tray that are going on the printer as we speak, and we'll have a look at those in a second. But this was all the stuff I could fit on one load. So this month is sort of more elite halflings. Obviously last month we had the sort of leader dressed up in his dragon costume. This month we have a couple of heroes. So we've got this rogue. Excuse the slight shininess, I need to change my cleaning solution, I think. But yeah, we've got a rogue holding a knife. This resin's not very good for showing off details, but we can sort that out with a good undercoat. We've got an awesome mage firing down a sort of big fiery blast off the end of his staff, and that kind of follows the sort of the theme of the candles that we had on a few of the models from last month as well. I think it's quite a cool sort of dynamic model. We have got, as we saw at the beginning, we've got these ferrets or weasels, dire weasels. So there's 3 different dire weasel sculpts. Seem to have lost one. Here it is. And I particularly love these because I do used to own ferrets. And they are fantastic animals, so I will be painting mine up as ferrets rather than weasels. And these are beautiful little sculpts. So there's 3 of those to sort of make a sort of cavalry unit. And obviously you can flip the sculpts, I guess, as well. So then we've got rider bodies to go with these, and these look very much like last month's kobolds. I did flip one of these, but I think they're more or less symmetrical, so it doesn't really matter. So the rider body is just the one option. But that doesn't matter because these are, like last month, multi-part things. So I've printed off a little bit of everything. So we've got some heads, all helmeted. I've printed off a set of left hands, and that's to go with these shields. Okay, so I flipped this shield specifically because I wanted, because of the sort of markings on the front are all slightly different, but that means that the hand grips are in the wrong place. But yeah, the other ones, yeah, we've got little hand grips on the back to attach this arm to. So I'm going to do my cavalry. I'm going to make them all, because I'm always like this, I'm always boring. I'm going to make them all more or less the same. So I've got 3 of the same hand there. We've got 3 of the shields, and then we've got these spears, which are actually, if you look at them, they're just swords roped, tied onto a sort of spear haft. I've got like the scimitar versions and then like a straight sword version. Sort of homemade spears. I'm actually looking at it. There's 4 new helmeted heads, and as well as that this month there are these 2 awesome little monster hunters. This is the halfling one, but there's also a dwarf one that I didn't print. Because I'm going to go with the halfling one, and he has 2 swords on his back. I wonder if there's a character that this guy might be based on. But yeah, can't wait to get some undercut on there and really bring out those details. But it looks like an absolutely fantastic little sculpt. Can't wait to get some paint on there. So that's someone to fight the kobolds. So I'm going to get these guys on some round lip bases. Pop a little bit of bird sand around the bases, and we'll throw a grey undercoat on them. Okay, so I'm basing up the ferret riders now, and I've got to choose between these 40 or 50mm bases, which doesn't sound that significant, but they are quite significantly sized. These are the sort of standard sizes for slaughter bases. I think, so I tend to put cavalry on these bigger ones. And obviously with a human on a horse like that, that's definitely quite fitting. But no, I think these guys are probably going to go on the 40s. I think it'll work fine. And as ever, I've got some masking tape here just to cover the slots. I'll just put that across and then trim off the excess. Okay, so we've got the second part hot off the printer. So the main part of this is these piggyback riders. Get rid of these supports. So we've got some more armoured sort of bodies riding on some little kobolds there. And I've printed off the rest of the sort of scimitars and swords. But this kit also came with a whole bunch of pickaxes, which I quite like. And I've also printed off a bunch of the heads and the little shields, and a couple of the spare bodies from the previous month's release. So I'm going to do a bit of a mismatch because all of these heads and everything are all compatible with the previous month. So you can sort of mix and match all these bits and pieces, which I think is quite cool. So I'm going to build something up now that looks kind of interesting with these. Okay, so here's some of the little characters that I built using a mix of this month and last month's parts. So that's like the last month's body and shield with the new head and sword and everything. Little champion type fella. And I quite like this guy actually. He's come out quite nicely. A little miner character with his bag and his sort of hat with the candles and a pickaxe. So these parts go together perfectly with the previous bits. And as ever, these models do fit together quite nicely. If you look at the shoulders and stuff, I didn't have to do any green stuff filling or anything last time. It all just sort of slotted in. And then we've got my little piggyback riders all put together as well. And still sort of all sorts of parts left over, so a few different swords that I didn't use. So there's two basically types of the swords. There's the swords and the scimitars, but they've all got different sort of shaped arms on them. Same with the pickaxes. But I think I've used all the unique parts now from this month. And here they are again with a fresh coat of primer. And all of those nice, clean, crisp details have popped out. Look at the little details on his cloak. And that dagger hand. That's really lovely. Especially impressed with the mage. Oh, and the monster hunter. Mining character. I think that's gone together really well because I'm full of character there. And of course the fantastic Weasel Riders. So while I'm letting that base coat fully cure, I am going to just go and rewatch my previous video and try and remind myself how I painted these guys. Okay, so I just watched my previous video back, and so it is Wild Flesh, Iron Rack Skin, Courier Green Shade, and then back to the Wild Flesh for the guys. This is where we're going to leave the mage for now though, because I intend to give him his whole own painting video in the next few weeks, concentrating on how I'm going to do the fire, and I might even try and experiment with a few object source lighting effects. So this is the last little look we'll get of him. Absolutely awesome little character. So I'm going to get these guys painted up in a double quick time, and we'll have a look at what a couple of the new ones look like painted. I was going to do this guy in all different browns, but I think the model's getting a bit too boring. So I'm going to re-go in black. Hopefully that'll give me better contrast against the skin, and sort of instantly read as that assassin vibe, which I think I was losing a little bit. Okay, I slapped a little bit of paint on the Weasel Riders, and you can kind of get an impression of what they're going to look like. Pretty awesome. It's a shame I didn't have time to paint them for this video, but I am looking forward to getting them painted, and I probably will paint them like these three goodest boys, my little old friends who are sadly not with us anymore. And there's three of these and three of them, so that's how I'll do them. I'm quite liking the poses we got with these. I mean, you could obviously, because with it all being ball joints, you could do almost infinite poses, but I'm happy with the ones I sort of came out with. The rest of the things, so we've got some of the bodies from last month, but with some of the new parts on, and they definitely add a bit of character to those previous models with the picks and the new helmets and stuff. So I'm really happy with those as well. Makes a proper little champion to go with the rest of the guys I had. And then we've got the piggyback rider guys. These are a lot of fun. I like how much sort of metal there is there. They definitely sort of stand out. I'll probably do a few more of these. Make like a little unit out of them, like an elite unit. And the last two that I did finish is the assassin. So as I said, I went back and did that cloak in sort of blacks and greys, and I'm pretty happy with that now. I think I could do a little bit more work on this guy, and I probably will, but he's done up for the time being. And yeah, he's just such a cool dynamic sculpt. Got a proper assassin vibe going on. And then last but definitely not least is our little Harold, and that's what he's called. And I'm really keen on the way he came out. It's a lovely print, it's a lovely sculpt, and I think he looks great. So yeah, these are the February minis from Warp Miniatures that you can be picking up on Patreon in the next week or so, I imagine. And the previous month's miniatures are currently available on My Mini Factory if you want to pick those up as well. I definitely recommend checking them out. They're a lot of fun to put together, and they're just fun little sculpts. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments. Maybe subscribe for more. And as ever, thanks for watching. Bye.